like to call to order the Jasper Common Council meeting for March 20th, 2024. Could we please have roll call?
Presiding Officer Mayor Dean Vonderheide.
Here.
Councilmember John Schrader.
Here.
Councilmember Chad Leakin.
Present.
Councilmember Vince Helming.
Here.
Councilmember Paul Lori.
Present.
Councilmember Kevin Manley.
I think he said he would be absent.
Councilmember Nancy Eckerly.
Here.
Councilmember Phil Mundi.
Present.
City Attorney Renee Cabrick.
Here.
Clerk Treasurer Kirsten Knies, present. In order to have a quorum, a majority of the council members must be in attendance. 6 of the council members are in attendance, which is a majority. Therefore, there is a quorum for this meeting.
Okay, would you please take a moment for personal reflection? Thank you. And now, if you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Minutes were sent out. Hope everyone had a chance to review them. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Seeing none, Mayor, I would make a motion to approve the February minutes as submitted.
I have a motion from Paul.
I'll second that motion.
I have a second from Nancy. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have department presentations this evening. Police Department, Chief Schmidt. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening.
All dressed up, tie and everything tonight.
Yeah, I'm trying to look good for you. But thought I was asking for money. Well, good evening. I just want to bore you with some numbers here to start off and then put you to sleep and then talk about the rest of the police department. But there's a few things I want to note for the police officers, for the police department from 2022 to 2023. You guys all got these executive reports in January, but I do want to highlight a few things. The first of all are calls for service, which is highlighted on your paper. From 2022, went up from 15,803 to 19,167, an increase of 3,364. Our arrest went up 52, from 430 to 482. Accidents, total accidents, damaged property and personal injury went down from 598 to 550, which is a decrease of 48. And I think it had a lot to do with the last things that's highlighted, which is warnings and traffic citations. 2022, we had 2,307 warnings to 788 traffic citations, and then last year we had 3,952 to 954 citations. So basically, I mean, we think there's a direct correlation. I mean, year in, year out, when we look at these numbers, if with more traffic activity we have, the lower our accidents are. So I think there's a direct correlation there. So that's something we really want to keep hitting. Obviously, remind drivers that they need to follow the rules, stop at stop signs, obey the stoplights, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, but I think there's a direct correlation there, and the guys have been really out hitting it hard, and so but our numbers are obviously increasing, except for the accidents. But I don't know if you have any questions on that. That's the.
I know, Chief, a lot of these stops, we've got a lot of new officers, and they're doing a good job of getting out there and patrolling and,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and those directly reflect into our arrest, a lot of them. OWIs and just different driving while suspended. There's a lot, if we're just going out and, we're just making sure people are obeying the rules. Unfortunately, we do get another thing, so. For 2023, a lot of this stuff was budgeted by you guys, but new is our new addition of our K-9 Gator. He's assigned to Joe Chambers, and they've completed their training and are out serving the citizens. We new replacement sergeant, Brent Duncan. He took over for Adam Bauer, who retired. We filled a vacant detective role by Aaron Schmidt. That's a replacement. Timekeeping, we got a new timekeeping system, was approved by the council, but we were still punching a clock literally to chunk. And just Monday mornings were always hectic, trying to add up the time and taking my shoes off to use my toes to count and helping Courtney. And so that's just more effective. We're just, it keeps better track of the guys, what they're doing, and, it's all computerized, and it makes our Mondays a lot easier. We replaced the west side windows on the police department. They were pretty bad shape, leaking, and we got that taken care of. New guns and optics. So the Jasper Police Department, state standards is 80% in qualification. Our police department, we require 90%. And we have a lot of good shots, but some are better than others. And every year when we have our qualifications, to get that 90, it would be, touch and go on some guys, they would have, some guys have trouble with the new optics and handguns. First time through after training on them, it was 100% qualification. So that just goes to show that how effective those are, and hopefully as a tool we never have to use, but in case it is, it's gonna be better for us. Exterior vest. I'm in a Class A uniform, the tie, that was pointed out, but obviously the guys are wearing external vest right now, and hopefully it's gonna help on back issues and a lot of weight on your hips, in this type of outfit, and those take it off. Not to mention in summer times they can cool off, and if they're doing reports on station, and then there's some kind of active shooter or something, all hands on deck. It doesn't matter if somebody's in a t-shirt or a suit. They throw their vest on, they're out the door, they're easily identifiable, and they have all the tools of their trade. So that's I think that's a great investment. We trained and hired 2 officers last year, Officer Lotus and Officer Hankey, and they're out serving after the academy and getting them through our field training programs. And then the last for 2023, which we're really proud of, is we had a total of 3,431 training hours, and for the police department. Now that number's a little skewed this year because we did have 2 guys that went through the academy, and we had Gator and Joe Chambers who were trained for 6 weeks. But if you take those out, the state mandate is 24 hours for every officer. We're still averaging, so every officer is averaging between 80 and 90 hours of training if you break that down. So we're big advocates of, if you train on the front end, hopefully that's going to help us out in the back end. And in 28 years as a police officer, it's amazing how this profession has changed. Guys are lawyers, they're EMTs, they're therapists, psychiatrists. I mean, they're everything. And it takes a lot of training to make sure everybody's on par with that and to keep up with that. Our dispatch center, we hired 2 part-time people last year, and we were approved for a full-time position this year. I didn't think the part-time was going to work out, but it's been tremendous for us, actually. We have very good people working for us, and it really helps fill the gaps. At 28 hours is a big deal. And then last week, we gave a conditional offer to John Fleck, who's a retired police officer, to a full-time dispatcher spot. So he's going to come back and work for us, and he's going to actually start April 1st of this year. So, but the knowledge that he brings to the table with, I think he was 28, 29 years, something like that on the police department, is invaluable. And I think he missed the job, and he likes being in this new role and helping people. And,
He started in dispatch, didn't he?
No, John actually didn't.
He didn't?
Yeah, there's a lot of people to have through us, through our department. We have a second 911 Solacom answering point and dispatch. So we have 2 fully functional dispatch areas in our dispatch, which is great because now I think with the hiring of our part-time and our full-time guy, we'll be about 76% of the time we'll have 2 dispatchers in dispatch at all time. You know, the hours that there won't be are probably late night, early morning, when our activities hopefully slows down, you know, so, but we're real excited about that. 2-tone paging for the fire department. It's 800 megahertz, which we carry, and the low band is what we refer to it as, but we can simultaneously page out on both frequencies, which is kind of a big deal because as we transition from the fire departments countywide from low band to all 800s, it just gives us the ability to fill that gap. First Alert app we have at City Hall. That's a quick app that you can notify first responders. Whatever your emergency is one push button. It creates a CAD call in our dispatch, and we can immediately dispatch whatever help is needed for those calls. We're still working on geo-routing cell phone 911 calls with the county. We're trying to get to where 911 calls in the city come directly to us. There's a statistic just put out this week that by the National 911 that 80% plus of 911 calls across the country are from cell phones. So I think we're thinking it's pretty important to capture those and get them when it's our citizens calling for our help, that it comes directly to us. And then if you haven't been down to dispatch lately, I urge everybody to go down there. We got a new camera, TV upgrade, so we have 3 huge monitors on the wall that we can monitor. Obviously, our building, we can monitor, we can have quick access to City Hall, Parklands, any city camera system that's on our network. And then also the big thing is all the school corporation, Jasper Consolidated School, all those schools, we have quick access to them in case there's an emergency. So that's really a nice upgrade. Last year, we were obviously we were blessed with donations and grants. We had over $73,000 in donations and grants from different organizations, different people throughout our city. 3 laptops with drone. We had 2 e-bikes, 8 patrol rifles, CVSA, voice stress lie detector test. We've always had that, but we needed to upgrade, and Sergeant Technical Pressure got a grant for that for $7,500. Community Day, we had our 2nd Community Day last year, and that was all donations and support by the public. We're sending 8 guys this year to the Public Safety and Special Operation Training Conference in Indianapolis. That's 8 officers. That was a donation of a local organization, and that's like the top trainers from across the country. Subject matter experts in law enforcement are going to be teaching at that. 2 new radars, and then obviously our K9 Gator is a big part of that, $20,000 in private donations. So we're very fortunate to have the support of the community, and to, across the country, the narrative is, anti-police a little bit, and if you're watching the news, but here we're just so fortunate and blessed to have support of our community, and we really feel like they're backing us. 2024 and beyond. We have a new lieutenant as of 2 weeks ago, Lieutenant Dave Berger. That's a position that hasn't been filled for 6 years, but he spent a week cleaning out his office that we packed full of junk over the last 6 years. But besides that, he's already taken a lot of initiatives. Police department. We have 6 new police vehicles in. You guys allow us 3 a year, right? And but our 24s didn't come in until 2023. They're that far behind. And actually, I think our 2024s came in like a week and a half after our 2023s. So I guess it's a production run. So we have 6 cars we're trying to have upfitted and to get out on the road. We're working to fill 2 openings that we have on our police department now from resignations and retirements. So we're actively in that process at the police department, and hoping that we can get those filled in this applicant pool. Detectives, they are entered they got a network called ICAC. and it stands for Interact Crimes Against Children. And this is child pornography, child solicitation, and what happens by being a part of this network, we're notified if sources are coming from our community. And they've had 20 tips so far. Actually, as of last night, had 21 tips. And last night, I left about 4:30, and I came back in at 8 in the morning, and all three of our detectives were there in the same outfits that they were the night before. They had a tip that came in, it was in progress, and so they worked through the night, investigating and making an arrest on that. So, but the big point with that is that we've only had time, and the other ones are not as pressing. So we've only had time to investigate 5 of our 20 other complaints. And it's just, they're so time intensive, you know, trying to locate IP addresses and getting warrants and getting information from computers. Every crime that the detectives deal with now is either, you know, are frauds, or with tax time, we're getting a lot of people representing other people, and we're getting a lot of complaints on that. And everything's involving a computer, the internet, cell phone, whatever, and these are so time intensive to do those investigations. And they're doing a good job, but I mean, obviously, they are, something like that comes in last night and they gotta drop everything else. So that's kind of it was kind of a big deal for them, but I'm proud of those guys for jumping right in and not missing a beat. For budget time, I'm gonna be hitting you guys up here. This is the end. But you know, we do need new radios this year, and that's on our priority list. They're over a decade old, and they're end of life. They're not being serviced anymore. We need to renew our body cam project. That's 5 years. It's been since we've gotten body cams, which have been very successful for us, and I can't believe we worked without them, you know, and then like obviously a lot of our new officers haven't worked without them. So that's been a good project for us. Flock safety is our license plate recognition cameras. We're trying to identify locations now to deploy more. We currently deploy 4, and we're looking at the best places to deploy those, and that's been a really successful program for us. And last but not least, but you know, we're going to be hitting you guys up to add more officers. I mean, we're burning at both ends, and that's something that, regardless of all the technology and everything we have, I mean, we kind of need boots on the ground to address a lot of these issues, and we're growing, the city's growing, and you know, we have a lot to take care of. So that's as much as I'm going to bore you. Except I do want to invite you guys to come down anytime. Anything I covered, anything you want to see firsthand or to experience, obviously. I mean, you're always welcome to come down to the police department, and but we would love to show them off and just show the capabilities. But
Thanks, Chief. Any questions for Chief Schmidt at this time?
Just out of curiosity, the cars, you talked about 6 cars?
Yes.
Are they all cars, or the SUVs?
SUVs.
Okay. Or trucks, or?
no, they're all SUVs. Yeah.
Is that?
That kind of, well, it's the standard now that we're going with. I mean, just the room-wise and all the equipment and everything like that, they're the best suited for us right now. But it's my understanding that at least Chrysler products is what we're currently using, and the current version we're using is going away. So, you know, we're kind of waiting to see what the next best police car is. You know, I mean, it's just every year somebody comes out and they say this is the best thing ever. You know, and we don't really know what that is at this point. But SUVs have served us really well, and the room and the all-wheel drive for bad weather. I mean, it's just they've been really good for us.
I know I'll state this, I'm really proud of the police department and what they've accomplished. I think with especially with the new members in the force, I think it's reflective of how our community feels about being a safe and secure community, the residents and visitors. So I appreciate all you guys are doing, Chief.
And kudos to the new officers too. I was telling them, for the first time in 16 years, I got to audit one of them last Wednesday evening, and he did a fantastic job, very professional.
Good, yeah,
Yeah.
no, we're proud. They've actually, I mean, we got a great group, and we've always had a great group, you know, that's good,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, we're proud of them, so, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next on the agenda is the tax abatement compliance forms, and first up would be Indiana Furniture.
I do just want to point out that there is an error on the agenda. Indiana Furniture for 2011 only has a personal property abatement, not a real estate abatement.
All right. Hi, everyone. Lori Clem here. So I've only been at Indiana Furniture for 3 weeks. Take it a little easy on me. Just kidding. Or give Max the hard questions. But no, we're here. Max and I are here requesting approval for our 2 tax abatements we have. The first one I'll go through rather quickly. It's an older one. You're probably pretty familiar with it, and then we'll dive more into the 2021 one. But the first tax abatement we have is from 2011. It was for a 30,000 square foot addition and advanced machining equipment. So we bought a lot of automated equipment there. And like Kirsten said, the real property abatement is complete. We just have the personal property left on that. So far, if you look down in the capital outlay piece, we projected to spend about $11.2 million in total. In that abatement, or in that project in total, we spent $6.4 million. So you can see our equipment, we didn't spend as much as we anticipated there, so we spent about $4.5 million in that capital expenditure there. And then ultimately, we said we were gonna add seven new jobs. We added 6, so slightly lower, but we're still, you know, you'll see in the next tax abatement, in the 2021 tax abatement, we've got quite a few jobs we've added since 2011 for Indiana Furniture. So overall, you know, the 30,000 square foot addition and the additional equipment has done wonders for us, helped us grow automation, help with labor issues as needed and whatnot. So that's the 2011. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll switch to the 2021 tax abatement. So that was for our south side expansion. So that was 165,000 square feet addition to our south side facility and shipping expansion. So now we are all under one roof, which is very nice. I wasn't there for it, but I've heard lots of stories about everyone having to travel to and from. So it's been very nice from an efficiency standpoint and standardization standpoint of the operations. Overall, we expected to spend $17.8 million. Right now, on the real property, we spent $13.1 million. And then on manufacturing equipment, at the end of 2022, we spent $1 million. And then in 2023, because we are still progressing on our manufacturing equipment journey, we spent an additional $1.6 million. So in total, we've spent approximately $16.4 million on this capital request. And then you can see when you move down into the employment section, so at onset in 2021, we had 275 employees. We are now at 347, so we were at the end of 2023. So we were able to create an additional new jobs of 72 versus our projected 5. So that's been very nice. And right now we're remaining right around that 347. So overall, those are our main tax abatements. We want to just thank you guys again for your support you provided us on this. It's allowed us to grow. It's allowed us to be able to do what we do. We've been able to provide employment opportunities in the county by growing and expanding into the one building. So we want to thank you for everything you've done. Any questions?
Lori, I'd like to comment on the wages. Along with the number of new employees you brought in, you've also been able to increase the wages considerably.
Yep, we're actually at 18.74. I ran that yesterday as I learned, so that helps. So yes, we've been able to increase our wages significantly to meet the market demands and as we get skilled laborers and whatnot.
Any other questions or comments? I think it's great. I'm glad to see that Indiana Furniture has made it through the move and is now.
2 moves. So we just moved our corporate office too, so that's been really nice. I told Max I came in and it's been really nice to go into a new office, so yeah.
definitely a valued member of the community.
That's why I always enjoyed coming in and looking and watching you guys thrive and continue to grow and continue pushing forward in the old entrepreneurial spirit of our community. So I appreciate everything that you guys have here, and again, the increase in jobs and wages. And as I look at these, I would make a motion to find them in substantial compliance for both the 2011 and the 2021 tax abatement.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion from Paul and a second from Chad that they're in substantial compliance. Any further discussion?
First of all,
Yeah.
you did a great job in your presentation.
Thank you.
And also, thanks for this written narrative.
Yeah,
This
well, you
line
can thank
zero
Bernie for
follow.
that. Bernie helped me. He's been helping me a lot still, so.
Bernie is working toward retirement for the last
Tomorrow
several months.
tomorrow we might let him go. Tomorrow's his last day with me, so.
He's a hard one to let go.
He is, he's amazing. So he's been very helpful throughout this. So yeah, and if you guys ever want to see the facility or have any questions on business, please let us know. We'd be happy to take you around, and I'll take a tour with you myself as I learn more, so. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ruger Kirsteins with Park Place. Evening, Ruger.
Good evening, Ruger Kirsteins with Premier Properties. Here for Park Place Estates, Phase 1 and Phase 2 compliance. I guess I'll just give a general, it's easy because they're both on the same site, but a general update on the project entirely. Since we completed construction, we remain completely full. Whenever people call in and looking for a place, this is one of the top 3 that they always ask for to live at. They just love the location of it. I personally do too. So I don't have a lot of added information from last year's. Nothing has changed, so I don't know what else to give. I'll answer questions.
Ruger, we had Phase 1 and Phase 2 here in place, and then Phase 3, are we moving forward on that? Or?
In the works.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, as we wrap up University Heights, we're going back to Park Place after, so.
Would
might be-
phase 3 be your last phase there, or do you have
There's
a
four, there's 4 total.
There's 4, okay.
So right now, there's 75 built, and we got 75 more to go. So we're exactly halfway. Yeah, I'll be back here again in the fall, getting all the approvals for Phase 3, and we want to build that out in 2025. So,
Wonderful.
Right.
And as-
I don't see on the CF one where there's what the assessed value is. Do you know?
we have not gotten the Form 11s yet. Those typically come at the very end of April. So right now, the amount reflected would be the same as it was last year. Yeah. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to find them within compliance.
I'll make that motion, Mayor, for Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Park Place Estates.
We have a motion from John,
I'll second.
and I have a second from Phil. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you all. Have a great
Thank you,
evening.
Ruger.
Thank you.
I
And
did
thank you
just-
for your investment in the community.
I did pull up last year's form, and you have that the assessed value is $2,886,900.
On phase 1.
On
And then
phase
you have
one,
phase
yeah.
2, I would say it's probably around like between 6 or 7.
Could probably pull that up too.
I have to check, but values have changed a lot recently, very quickly.
Yes, they have.
It's hard to keep up with the changes.
Thanh you, sir. And
It's not on that
Ruger,
form, so.
always the question whenever we do anything like an abatement or a TIF is, but for this incentive, you would not have gone forward.
No,
Is
and
that
the rents
true?
would not be anywhere close to where they are now. So to serve employees such as all the employees that Laura and Max were talking about, I mean, to keep the rents in the range that they need to be sustainable for them and not spend, over 50% of their take-home on living, with these types of incentives, we're able to keep the prices in the affordable rent range for all the residents and all the employees of these companies that are
I just think that's important that everybody understands that. That's one of our key criteria. Okay. Yep. Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Rieger.
Next on the agenda is the TIF management report. This isn't information we have in front of us, we can turn around.
I did provide it to you in a packet, but I was going to share the presentation on the screen if it comes up. So prior to April 15th, the RDC is required to file a report of its activities for the prior calendar year with the mayor, the council, and the DLGF. Beginning this year, there's a new requirement that it must be presented at a council meeting as well. So that's what I'm doing now, maybe. Okay, I'll just go ahead and get started, but I provided you with the TIF management report packet. If you turn to the first slide, you'll see the RDC reporting requirements. April 1st, the clerk treasurer prepares fiscal reports for the RDC. Prior to April 15th, the RDC files the report with the mayor, the council, and the DLGF, and now also presents it at a council meeting. June 15th is the deadline for annual notification to overlapping taxing units. August the 1st is the deadline for calculations to be done before assessed values are certified or TIF neutralizations. Prior to December 1st this year, the RDC will have to file an annual spending plan for the next calendar year with the mayor, the DLGF, and the council. And then in the go forward, the RDC will only be able to use the money in TIF allocation funds and any other funds maintained by the RDC in accordance with the annual spending plan. And then annually, the RDC gives a presentation to the taxing units, providing the RDC's budget for TIF revenue, the long-term plans for TIF area, and the impact on each overlapping taxing unit. On the next slide, you'll see the members of the RDC for 2023. Andrew Sager was president, John Schrader vice president, John Colley secretary, Laura Grammer member, Phil Mundy member, and then Tim DeMott was the non-voting school board member, but he left midterm, so that is an error on this report. Steve Lukemeyer filled out the remainder of his term and is on the RDC again this year. Oh. Okay, you can see we have 3 TIF allocation areas. TIF Central, which was established November the 4th of 2014, and there's no expiration date there. The Riverfront allocation area was established October 6, 2015, and expires September 5th, 2044. And then the University Heights allocation, which was established April 6, 2021, and will expire July 1st of 2024.
And I can't remember, why does the central district not have an expiration date?
I really don't know the answer to
Because
that.
we haven't incurred any debt yet.
Okay.
Now we have.
Now we
So
have.
it's
Now we have, so.
25 years
Next
from
year.
the date of that incurring event?
Yeah,
Starting.
yeah, that's-
30 years?
No,
About.
actually, it's 20.
I think it's 20.
Oh, 20, okay.
On the next page, you'll see the finances for the 2023 calendar year. TIF Central total revenue was $778,000 and total expenditures were $485,000. The Riverfront TIF total revenue was $483,000 with total expenditures of $376,000. University Heights, we had no revenue and no expenditures in 2023, but expect that to change this year. Total redevelopment commission expenditures were as follows. The total for professional services was $461,000. $351,000 of that was to Hafer for the outdoor pool design. We paid fees to Baker Tilly and Barnes and Thornburg for their assistance in some of those projects. We made a $25,000 contribution to the Heart of Jasper, and then we had some fees for appraisals and land surveying. Then additionally, you'll see we made debt service payments, a total of $197,000 in principal on bonds and $178,000 in interest on bonds. On the next page, you'll see the fund balances. The top 3 funds, we manage in-house. The remainder of the funds are with the trustee. And these are the ending balances as of December 31st, 2023, so those have changed already. But in TIF Central, the ending balance was $1.7 million. In the Riverfront, $269,000, and again, 0 in University Heights. And then on the other ones, the trustee is required to hold those accounts. You'll see he keeps a reserve, which he uses to pay principal and interest, and that allowed him to make a prepayment this year, which I guess is always a good thing. On the next page, you'll see the debt payment calendar for 2023. On the Riverfront Series 2019 A1 bonds, the total outstanding principal and interest was $5.5 million. Principal and interest on debt paid, $262,000. On the Series 2019 A2, just under $500,000 outstanding. We made a $113,000 payment, and you can see then next to that also the maturity dates of those, and you'll see that the August 1st, 2040, that changes as he makes prepayments, as the trustee prepays those down, so some of those may get paid off early. And then the junior subordinate bonds, the 2019 C, $1.5 million outstanding. And then we do have the outdoor pool on here, even though we closed on those this year, but there's $12 million outstanding there. No payments have been made on that yet. And then the conditional project expenditure agreement for University Heights was $647,000. Like I said, we haven't made any payments there yet, but expect to this year. As I mentioned, there was an early redemption of principal in the amount of $81,000. And the second note there just indicates that these are tax increment paid bonds that we could use debt. We could use property taxes if we ever need to, but at this point we feel that they will be paid, the service will be paid by the TIF allocation. And that's all I have. I think I just need you guys to acknowledge that you received the report. I did provide you with a copy of the report that gets uploaded to Gateway as well. And it will go to the RDC. John pointed out that they don't even have it yet, so that's next. Does anyone have any questions?
So we want to formally acknowledge that we've received this TIF management
We'll just
report.
make a motion to approve it.
Okay.
So make a motion to approve the TIF management report for 2023, presented by the clerk treasurer, Kirsten Denise, to the council.
So
I'll second.
Motion from Paul and a second from Chad. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, and then we have the city disclosure operating procedures.
I think that's me too. As a result of the city entering into the bonds for the outdoor pool project, we are required to comply with federal securities laws. Therefore, it's in the city's best interest to create and adopt operating procedures for preparing and updating those disclosures. Renee and I met with Baker Tilly, who with our input developed the procedures that I gave to you in your packets, and they will help keep us in compliance with these laws as well. I will be the city's compliance officer. Karma, as our city's financial coordinator, will assist with the implementation of these procedures. The document that I provided to you, and I was trying to put on the screen but can't, it outlines the procedures that we will follow in regard to preparing any official statements with regard to the issuance of city obligations, preparing and disseminating annual financial information, and disclosing any material or reportable events or EMMA notices. Additionally, as a compliance officer, I will maintain appropriate records, evaluate the effectiveness of these procedures, and make any recommendations for modifications. And I
I'll
think
make
those
a
just need to be
motion.
approved by you guys.
I'll make a motion to adopt the city disclosure operating procedures as they were presented by Kirsten.
I have a motion from Nancy.
I'll second.
I have a second from John. Any further discussion?
We also have to adopt the material amount calculation sheet, which was also included. I didn't know if you sent that out. It's just part, I think it identifies a financial, the material amount as $1 million. So, and you can do that at the same time.
I'll include that in my motion.
Okay.
I'll include it in my second.
Okay. I have a motion from Nancy and a second from John to adopt these procedures and the material amount. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That was a big chunk of our agenda there, Kirsten.
I think I have the next one too.
Yeah, you do.
I did not put those on the screen though.
Okay, we have the application for gas contractor's license.
Yes, I think I emailed those to you after the last meeting, but we had an application for gas contractor's license from Ryan Englert and Noah Schuring. They both passed their exams with flying colors, and I think you all have put in writing that you would approve those. This is just a formal.
Going to make a motion that we approve the gas contractor's applications from Noah Schuring at 90% and Ryan England at 92%. Nice to see big numbers
Yes.
come in on the applicants.
I have a motion from Paul.
I'll second that.
I have a second from Phil. Any further discussion?
By any chance, did you get those questions?
I did not. I asked, oh gosh, I can't think of his name right this minute, but I did ask Brad Thomas those questions, and he wasn't sure about whether or not the test was open book or not. But he said he'd look into it and get back to me.
Okay, I was just curious if the test was open book, and then I was also curious if these guys had their plumber's license in the state of Indiana.
I don't know the answer to that either. Hang on. I know Brad answered.
And I couldn't find it. I went back and tried to read up on it. I couldn't find it in the ordinance.
Let's see that, Brad. I don't feel like it's open, but, you know, but.
I'm not sure.
Do you know if they have to get their plumber's license?
Not sure about that either. I didn't think so.
Would the plumber's license go hand in hand with the gas?
It seems like it.
Yeah, Bud might know more about that. I mean, even to work on gas, don't you have to have your plumber's license? Or is that not the case?
I think you have to work for a licensed plumber.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if that license is actually in the person's name or not.
All right, I was just curious. I was fine with it, but I just had those questions.
If I can find out any more, I'll let you know.
All right.
Appreciate the question on that. So I have a motion from Paul and a second from Phil to approve these gas contractors' license. Any further questions? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is ordinance number 2024-4. It's fixing a schedule of rates and charges collected by the city of Jasper for the owners of properties served by the sewage works of said city and other matters connected therewith. Could I have a motion to read the ordinance on the first reading in full or by title only?
Make the motion to read by title only, please, Mayor.
I have a motion from Paul to read by title only.
I'll second that
I
motion.
have a second from Vince. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The city attorney, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance number 2024-4, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Jasper, Indiana, fixing a schedule of rates and charges collected by the City of Jasper, Indiana, from the owners of property served by the sewage works of said city and other matters connected therewith.
And just to go through procedure, this will go through first reading tonight, but will be next month on the second.
Next month, we'll have a public hearing.
We'll have a
and
public
second
hearing and a
third.
second reading. Okay. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the ordinance on the first reading?
So moved.
I have a motion from John.
Second.
I have a second from Paul. Further discussion. Bud, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. The wastewater committee met on March 4th and was presented with the rate study that was performed by Baker Tilly. And what the rate study showed is that we had a shortfall projections from the difference between our revenues, projected revenues, and our projected expenses and the projected revenues. The difference was about $1,583,000. So in order to, and a lot of that was based on increases in just annual replacement costs and the capital improvement plans that are projected for the next 4 years. We have a lot of, well, the plant itself is over 30 years old now, and so there's a lot of things that have the plant that need to be maintained, upgraded, replaced, and all that has been put in here. And then we also looked at other projects. So we looked at the north side sewer expansion that would be needed to relieve some of the usage or load on the north side of town. So all of that was included in the rate study, which came up with that deficit that we need to try to recoup through the rates. So that's the bad part, is that we need to increase the rates in order to cover our expenses. And it's for an average customer, it would increase it about, residential customer, it can increase about 40%, which sounds like a lot, but if you look at what other areas of other communities are charging for sewer rates, we were the lowest, and we're almost still the lowest. The only city that had lower rates of the projected rates would be Vincennes, and they haven't had a rate study since 2016. So we feel like they will be probably leapfrogging us when they do their next rate study. But anyway, this is a bar chart that shows we are in the yellow. This is where we are at before the rate increase. This is where we would be after the rate increase.
So even after the rate increase, will be lower than all the other local municipalities.
Next highest one above us is about $12 a month more expensive than what ours would be. This was $54.64. Some of them go all the way up to $83, over $83 for their monthly.
But on that chart that you had there, because I don't think we had, maybe it's here, I don't think we had it though, but.
Yeah, it was part of the rate study.
With the increase, what would that, like, average on that? So we're moving from that yellow to that yellow?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's about 40%.
Yeah, I know you said 40%, but I didn't know what that
I thought it
equated
was
to in
like
dollars.
24% or something.
There's difference. So I'm glad for the
meter charge, I think, was one rate, and then
Yeah.
just this.
Cubic feet was 54%, then the meter size was about 20.
Splits that, if you take all of it together, that's the typical residential customer would see.
You said that included in that rate study was the possible plant on the north side. How would that plant, which might serve, let's say, Hayesville or wherever, how and why would that affect these rates here?
Well, it also, we're kind of considering it, our plant has capacity in it. It's only like 60% right now loaded, but there's a problem getting the waste from the north side to the plant. So we have the option of either building a new pumping station and pumping it all the way to the plant to try to relieve some of the load that we're having, and that's kind of the projected area where we'll have more expansion, so we need to make room for that. Or build a new plant on the north side, and that's all been studied, and we're trying to get a grant to help fund some of that. And it was kind of a wash, or it was maybe even more expensive to build a pumping station and try to pipe force main all the way through the city, as opposed to building a plant and just treating it there and discharging it towards White River. So between the two, it almost came out to, if you look at both of them, it was, the dollar amount needed was similar. So that's what we used in our calculation.
We're experiencing growth, or also could on the north side, because there's plenty of room for growth out there.
Correct.
Residential primarily.
Right, and even though the plant, like I said, is 60% full, that's the average. So we do see rain events where it actually can't keep up, which is typical for wastewater plants. Rain events are just where you have inflow and infiltration, which we're doing a good job of trying to minimize. Still though, if you get 3 or 4 inches of rain in a couple days in a row, it just we have surge tanks to kind of try to collect all that, and then we can treat it kind of as the inflow comes less and less. So.
Can I interrupt? And a couple of the other things that we looked at, if we're spending about the same amount of money taking to the waste to the old plant versus building a new one, if we go to the old one, we're not adding any capacity, whereas if we spent that money on a new plant, we'd be adding capacity for the future, which is, more than likely gonna keep expanding on that side of town.
And then could increase capacity at the
Not
current
just-
plant.
Not just
Yeah.
adding capacity, correct? We talked about maybe being able to turn some of our pump stations to the
Right.
north.
Right.
That's right.
Alleviating some stress on.
Right.
main
Yeah, that
plant.
all makes sense.
Main plant, north plant.
Yep.
So-
But the plant, the existing plant does have enough space and was designed to almost double in size. So it,
Another factor was
Yeah.
the disruption of the community, if you had to go through and lay a new line all the way through town,
Yeah.
after you spend the money to
And I want
fix other
to,
infrastructure.
and then I'll pass my congratulations on to the wastewater department and utilities. I mean, they keep that facility in top-notch shape. I mean, this could be a lot worse as far as the repairs that are necessary down there. But the condition they keep it, it resolves a lot of trouble.
It does.
and regulations are starting to get more and more strict. I mean, just a few years ago, we had to put in a phosphorus treatment facility because we were mandated to do that. And there's a whole list of things that could come down the road, and we tried to capture that in this rate study to allow us to collect some money, knowing that the regulations are gonna get stricter for us. And it's gonna be some additional cost.
Bud, what does that 40% on average increase on the average residential user, what does that equate to in dollars?
If you look on that little chart there, it's,
So that number.
those two numbers, yeah, that'd be the difference.
$15 maybe?
Okay.
Right.
We're talking about average, Jim.
Yeah.
I do think, I want to piggyback off what Councilmember Schrader said. The fact that they manage this plant and we're going to incur this increase and we're still going to be the lowest cost provider of sewage treatment in the area. And I think that says a lot. And I think it's well done for that group.
Yeah, most communities, their sewer rates are 3-4 times what their water rates are. People pay that much more for sewage than water. Right now, we're about, well, before this rate increase, we were almost even on water costs versus sewage costs. So
How many years between our last rate study and this one, Bob?
2019 was our last rate.
5 years. 4 years.
I think we're looking at, what, a 3 to 5 year cycle on these rate studies, just to make sure we don't get too far behind.
Correct.
So thank you, Bud. I would entertain a motion to accept the proposal.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I have a motion from Paul,
I'll second.
and I have a second from Phil. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
But thanks for being here to explain all that.
Yeah, you can call me if you have any questions and find out.
I was just thinking, sometimes new council members go on a tour of the utilities, maybe we need to line something up for Vince.
Oh, yeah.
Kirsten, you've probably never been either.
I took State Board of Accounts on a tour, I got to see some of it, so.
Well, it's great. I mean, our operations are very clean. They run really well. I mean, we can be very proud of all of our departments, but utilities, what we're talking about tonight.
Mm.
Okay, next on the agenda is the real property sales purchase agreement. And this deals with the 10 acres adjacent to the parklands. City of Jasper purchasing it from the Greater Jasper Consolidated Schools. Intent is to secure this property for the building of the Regional Wellness Center, as well as initial plans are to add a early learning development center there. Could I have a motion to have the resolution?
Nope.
Nope, this is resolution.
Just a motion to approve the real.
Approve the agreement.
Yep.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the agreement? Or do you want to, let's cover the agreement,
Sure,
maybe
yeah.
at high level, if you wouldn't mind first.
So, as you all know, the mayor in particular has been working tirelessly to raise funds to support the Regional Wellness Center. We've been working with stakeholders over the course of the last, I don't know, I think it's been at least 4 years now, to develop a plan. And initially, that plan was located at the site of the Indiana National Guard. And the National Guard was intended to be a stakeholder in the project. And still, I want to be very clear that we have a great relationship with them. In fact, we met with them today, and the meeting went very well. But at the end of the day, there are difficulties in acquiring property that is owned and currently used by the National Guard. And we have found that the support of the project is great, but greatest if we own the property on which the project would be located. So as the project design was moving forward and the fundraising was moving forward, it became clear that we were gonna have to make some decisions about property ownership, and so started conversations with the school board. And thankfully, the city and the school have a great relationship, and through several conversations, ended up having a unanimous vote by the school board to approve the sale of the property during their February meeting. And then we negotiated this real property sales purchase agreement, which the school board considered and approved at their March meeting. So what we would like for the council to do tonight is to approve our entering into this agreement with the school. We did, obviously, we negotiated a price. They had gotten an appraisal and then gave us a discounted price based on our negotiations. So we feel comfortable that we're getting a good deal on this property, and really, really like the location. I think you've seen the schematic that shows the footprint. Obviously, that's not exact. Just as with the cultural center, it's going to take a while to get the exact layout for the facility, but we do feel confident that the facility and all the components that have been identified can fit nicely onto that property and will serve not only the community, city, but also the school very well. So we would like approval to go forward with the purchase of that property.
And I think we saw it in an article, news article that was out there last week, which was for transparency purposes, the number that we were gonna pay for the property.
2,000, wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, $221,722.50.
You said it was a discounted amount, what was the exposure?
So,
The appraisals were higher than that.
yeah, there was a difference between the appraised amount and the amount that we sold it to them originally for back in 2013. Just less than $100,000. So this amount just splits that difference.
And it shows, I think, the cooperation and the support that the school's giving the city on this project particularly.
That's correct.
And we do have $1 million in HELP funds that have been identified towards this project, and we do have to start spending them. They do have a timeline, so I do think we have the funds to pay for it as well.
So I would entertain a motion, if there's no more questions about the property itself, entertain a motion to,
I would say to authorize us to enter into this real property sales purchase agreement.
I do have one more question. Looking at this aerial map, I think it answers the question, but none of this property goes into what is that currently that bike park?
it does
Is
not.
that
That's correct.
Okay.
It does not. There is, I think there's a utility right of way as well on the west side of
There's
that property.
the sanitary line, yep.
You know, so that, this particular development would not have any impact on it at least with the design today.
Yeah, the only circumstance under which our facility would have any impact on that neighboring property is if the school were to decide that they wanted to enhance connectivity between the school's property and the
Right.
wellness center.
Because that bicycle thing is on school property.
Correct.
It's on school property.
Quite honestly, when I looked at the overhead on there, I thought it felt like it gave better access to it than.
It actually does.
Yeah.
From having to park on the street,
Mm.
ride up the hill or walk up the hill. I take my boys there several times a year. So it's just a little easier access.
Mayor, I'll make a motion then to authorize the real estate sales purchase agreement between the school corporation and the city of Jasper for the regional wellness center.
A motion from John.
I'll second.
I have a second from Paul. Further discussion?
Just thank you for all the meetings and kind of negotiations, I guess, you had with the school board. And they appear to be open to at least conversation about it and then agreement. I also want to thank Matt Crane for fielding a whole lot of questions on Facebook. After he put that article in, there was a lot of conversation, and you did a great job leading people in the right direction as the truth of the matter on this.
Great. I have a motion and a second. And if there's no further discussion or questions, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anything else coming forward, council?
I have a couple of items. First, you had shared those numbers with us about the library usage. Those are outstanding
Isn't that exciting?
numbers, and
Yeah.
it's just great to see that people really are using it. And I always laugh. I tell people about the library, and I think people thought it would open up with all computers. I'm like, you know what's in there? Books, and a lot of books. So it's obviously that people are checking out books and using the facility. So those are great numbers. Thank you for sharing that. And then I did want to share the conversation we had about the opioid funds process, if that's okay to
Sure.
do that. We had a recent meeting with Kirsten, and Renee was on the phone, the mayor was there. Officer Logan Jones from the JPD, and then I can't think, Jenna with the Substance Abuse Council, and myself. So after a lot of discussion about those opioid funds, we decided to recommend, let's see, I have this written here, I'm just gonna read it, to recommend to keep the funds within the city and not put them in the hands of the Substance Abuse Council. So Officer Logan Jones would prepare several one-page proposals and prioritize projects treating all funds as restricted funds, which is the better way than unrestricted. Restricted, it gets rather confusing, but specific to opioids. And then these proposals and funds would then follow the normal city budget process. So those would be presented among the prior conversations in the city budget process, and then presented to the council during the city budget process for approval of those funds as they are available. And so there'll be more funds coming in through the years, but right now we would just be addressing the funds that we have available. And I did give him a copy of that ordinance 22-36 that had many exhibits and suggested uses also. And anyway, it's not intended to take away from the Jasper Police Department and possibly Jasper Fire Department for some funds, but to supplement them for purposes as long as those funds last. So anyway, I wanted to share that because we've had some discussion here about that and what to do with those funds.
And I think the Substance Abuse Council was very much on board
They
with
were.
that handling of those funds.
And what that may do with the substance abuse councils, make those funds go further, that other entities could receive those funds when they may not need them because we're spending these funds. And then I had another question concerning the DORA. In some recent conversations, it was said that you could carry a DORA cup from a bar into another bar. And I was under the understanding that that cup had to be it had to be disposed of before you could go into another bar. And you could not refill using that same cup. And I just wanted to clarify that is what we agreed on when we passed that, or maybe I misunderstood.
Well, the second part of that is correct. You cannot refill a DORA cup. So if you carry one in from one establishment into another, you can finish it, but you can't refill it. Now, the first part of that, I believe we left to the individual
Business.
establishments. So some establishments don't mind, they're just happy to get the customers. I don't really think, I honestly spoke to any owners that were opposed to that, but I didn't speak to everyone, so.
I think some of them were gonna check with the excise to see if they were allowed to bring a drink in. I think that's where their concern was.
And I didn't know if
Because
the
I had
DORA
heard,
changed that.
I heard headquarters, for example, somebody carried some in and they didn't know how to react to it. They said, well, we're gonna have to check that out to see if they're allowed to bring them in.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Because
Let's check with them.
normally you can't, so why would you be able to bring a door in instead of
That-
anything else?
believe me, we did have that conversation, and we actually met with our representative from the excise, and he said basically that this law kind of throws excise on their ear. This changes everything about how they enforce in those areas. So I feel 100% certain that if you are in the DORA, that is allowed.
But again, we left that to the discretion of the business owner.
Correct. Correct.
If they ask you to dispose of, I don't think we can, I don't
No.
think anybody's got a leg to stand on if you get rid of it.
They let
get
him
a new
in,
one.
they
That's
let
fine.
him in, but they weren't sure.
You weren't sure what to do with it.
That's
Okay.
fine.
And then I did, as you probably know, I'm working with some IU students with the Rural Engagement Program about a communication warning system. And we have some students from IU, actually I ended up working with two groups. One kind of researching the systems and the other one making sure that cybersecurity is safe within any system that we might choose to adopt. So I have some students coming down on Friday, April the 12th at 1 o'clock, and I'm hoping to use this room. I didn't check with Lisa yet. And they would give a presentation at 1:15 about what they have discovered. It ends up 2 of the kids are actually from Jasper that are in this program. And then there's another group from IU, like IUPUI, but I don't think they call it that anymore, doing some other research. So they may zoom in from there. But I don't know if everyone's welcome. I don't know how we do that with the open door law, because it's not really a council meeting, but it'd be a public presentation at 1:15 on Friday, April 12th. And then I'm gonna take them on a tour of the city.
Nothing else, sounds like we can zoom in and it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you the
So we'll see.
Okay, well, we'll send that information out closer to that time.
Get a Zoom link if you want. Zoom in.
It's not a violation of the open door law if the council members attend a public presentation like that.
Okay. All right, that's all I had, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion from Paul,
I'll say that motion.
a second from Vince. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.